Hi guys, so I'm Avile, but if you've got this far, I'm pretty sure you know that. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is EQ, emotional intelligence. What is that even, right? I myself didn't know what it was until LSD3. So, what I decided to do was take an EQ test. And surprisingly, my EQ is 122. I know, right? I was just as shocked. So, from my test, I concluded that what my strengths and weaknesses are. So, we'll be talking about my strengths and my one weakness. So, what are my strengths? So, from my test, my strengths is that I've got very good and strong social management and self management. We'll be talking a little bit about that and how I can use that to my advantage. So, for one, I radiate a lot of confidence, as you can see. And I'm someone who really trusts my intuition. If my gut is saying no, then it's a no for me. Another thing is that I'm not someone who tends to shy away from being brutally honest with myself as well as with people. And I often tell people to please be brutally honest with me. Honesty is one of the hardest pills to swallow. But let me tell you something. It is so fruitful and so rewarding. There's so much that you can learn from someone's honesty because they're looking from the outside in. It's like trying to look at your eyeballs. Pretty impossible. I love challenging myself. I love to see what new limits that I can get to, and I love to see what can make me crack. I'm someone that always tries to better and beat myself. That's weird, right? It's like at the Olympics. They've got that little top three best runners world record scoreboards. I've basically got one, but in my head, of myself. I always want to ensure long-term success. Someone once told me that as humans, we tend to gravitate towards instant gratification, and that really resonated with me. And so I decided that from there on, long-term success is what I really want. Because long-term success constantly keeps you motivated and you stay happy. And who doesn't want to be happy, right? People tend to gravitate towards me. And this has been happening since I was younger. And I never really got it. And as I grew older and through the course of doing LSD3, I learned that through social management, people found with my social skills that it was so much easier to converse with me and at times open up with pretty hectic things. So to me, that's like my secret superpower. To me, building relationships is very good. But what's most important to me is keeping those relationships. Because what's the point of building a whole lot of good relationships if they're just going to die out? So one of my self-management as well as a little bit of social management skills is being able to keep good relationships. I find it important to build a whole lot of different relationships, but once I've built those relationships, we're tight. I also find that communicating and sometimes over communicating is a good thing. This way it avoids broken telephone. We all played broken telephone as kids. And what did the kid at the end say? It was never what the first kid said. So to me, I feel that it always avoids unnecessary disagreements as well as a whole lot of miscommunication. So those are my skills. So we'll now be discussing my one weakness. So yes, I know, I like to think I'm perfect. But let's have it. There's always room for improvement. So one of the things that I've realized with LSD as well as with doing this test is that I'm someone who sometimes tends to judge a book by its cover. I know, it's not a good thing. But what I've decided to do, or what I'd like to do, is I want to observe how I react to people and what prejudiced assumptions I've built on those particular people. That way it helps me self-regulate whatever prejudiced thoughts I've got about a person and come back to what is a reality. I also would like to do monthly self-evaluations. Kicking it, no phones, yes, no phones. Peace and quiet, all by myself, me and my thoughts, doing a little bit of yoga. And that will help me self-evaluate where I've come from, where I currently am, and where I'd like to be in the future. They always say that you are your biggest critic. And that is totally true. But sometimes it's not a bad thing. So with monthly self-evaluations, I'd like to criticize myself on what I maybe could have done better, which will possibly help me in the future. And I mean, like I said, I want to be perfect. The other thing that I hope to improve on my one weakness is I would like to examine how I react in stressful situations. When I was younger, I always used to brag that, I work best under stressful situations. And you know what? To a certain extent, it's still pretty true. I produce my best work under stressful situations. But the issue is how I react in that stressful situation and in that period of getting to my end goal. I would like to evaluate who and how I upset people as well as myself in the process of getting to my end goal. So that was pretty much my strengths and weaknesses that I learned from doing an EQ test. What I'm going to do is I'll pop a link down below of how to go about doing a free EQ test. That'll help you determine where you're strong at and what you could maybe work on. Because, no one wants to really admit that they've got some faults. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Bye, guys.